Welcome in, Cowboys Nation, the Cowboy Game Day Live, the post-game show brought to you by Texas Card House. We are still live here at Kanvas Sports and Social as the Cowboys get stomped once again, 34-10. It's just becoming a normal thing to me, man. It just is what it is, but hey, man, we about to get through this post-game show because the DJ turning up, and I'm over here. Jesse Holley, Skywalker still. Cowboys dropped their fourth in a row? Fifth in a row. Dropped their fifth in a row at the crib as well, or is it six in a row at the crib?
Six in a row dating back to playoffs. Yes.
5 in a row.
Correct.
As we stand now, yes, that is 5 in a row as we stand during
the Cowboys, out of the four major North American, out of the four North American major sports, baseball, basketball, hockey, football.
The only team
in 2024 to not have a home victory. Every other team in every other North American sport has won a home game except the Dallas Cowboys.
And to make matters worse, Jesse, the Cowboys have the dubious record of holding 6 consecutive home games, losing by at least 20-plus points at some point in the game. The only team in NFL history to do so. The only. You can't make this season up. And the one perfect play to summarize this season is Tyler Guyton gets whooped. You could just pick a tackle. Yeah. Guyton steal. One of the two was getting whooped. Yeah. Sack fumble. Last week it was Terrence that tried to scoop and score from the 40.
And they both were the reason why the sack happened.
Guyton picks the ball up, and this wasn't it accidentally came in my hand and I tried. Guyton was like, I'm getting me some. I'm getting on the stat sheet. Yeah. Well, you did get on the stat sheet, sir. Yeah. He fumbles. Petrie knocks it out. Autry or whomever it was picks it up. Barnett picks it up, scoops and scores. Just a comedy of errors and it's like that. And it's like they listened to the halftime show and said, "Oh, we passed Black and well. Bet. Hold my beer." They didn't give up a sack in the first half. They gave up 5 in the second half.
I told you.
But we did say, hey, he on pace for 54 attempts. He can't keep going out here doing that. Eventually the levees will break, and those levees broke, and they broke real bad.
And it's crazy because the game ended 34-10. It was 17-10 at halftime, and we talked about it.
17-13.
17-13. You took the field goal off the board.
That's another comedy of errors.
Anyway, but it was 17-10. You got the ball at half, and you were finding yourself in a position where, hey, we're still in this game, and that we talked about staying balanced, eating up some of the clock. But the Cowboys decided to come out 55 passing attempts with your backup quarterback with a rundown offensive line that you knew wasn't going to be able to protect. It was inevitable. It was inevitable. Like the levee was going to break. You just knew at some point in time, my boy, we're doing the show. At some point in time, the levee was going to break, and it was going to be bad for Cooper Rush and this Cowboys offense.
At the end of the day, it's still Danielle Hunter on the other side. I don't care how good you did with him in the first half. You still got 2 more quarters left to play, and you escaped the first half not getting a sack, fumble, or immense pressure. Don't play with fire continually, and that's what they did. And listen, I get they weren't that successful in running the ball. Well, you know what? Maybe try going to the outside. Maybe try different ways to run and not just shotgun run up the A-gaps. That's not going to work. Yeah. And you know, Zach Martin, God bless his heart, he's out there playing through it, as we both know. You know, and it shows.
I do a show called Hanging with the Boys 5 days a week on DallasCowboys.com, and I have the luxury to work with 3-time Super Bowl champion, 6-time Pro Bowler Nate Newton, and Nate made a plea, almost a cry out this week for Zach Martin. And because I was the one that was saying, you know, players like Zach Martin, you know, they want to go out on their shield, and Nate said, you have to save him from himself. Yeah. because, yes, he wants to go out on his shield. Yes, he deserves to go out on his shield. But he is a shell of what he used to be. The invincibility, the guy who at one point in time had more Pro Bowls, all pros than he had holding calls.
That's wild.
Right, like that was a picture of perfection. What Zach Martin used to be at that right tackle position, and now we watch him over this season, whether it's father time or injuries or whatever may have you, just deteriorate. And today, I felt as a former player, as someone who has given his blood, sweat, and tears to this game, I felt the soul-crushing feeling of watching Zach Martin down there on the ground, on his knee, and looking like I'm giving you what I got. I'm giving you every last bit of what I got. I'm trying to when this thing is all said and done, I want to make sure that I've squeezed every bit of juice, of effort, of energy, of ability out of me on this football field. I left it on the line. I left it on the field. And you just hate to see that it's probably, because they showed him on the sideline walking to the locker room with the trainers. You hate to see something like that for a player like, Zach Martin. And this is a part of the piece. Now, I didn't agree with all what Micah Parson was saying a week ago, but this is that part of it when he says we want to go out there and want to do it for guys like Zach Martin. And each and every week you go out there and you put on these performances that aren't becoming of anyone, but definitely not honoring guys like Zach Martin.
And then he goes down, and when he goes out, the very next play, Tyler Smith gets hurt, and then 2 plays later, TJ Bass gets whooped, and then another play later, or series later, Terrence Steele. It was just a revolving door. Yeah. Terrence, Zach, Tyler goes down, Guyton. It's bad. Yeah. It's bad, and obviously in the offseason they have to get a new offensive line coach in here. I don't think I've ever seen such a regression in my life. And I get injuries play a factor in it as well, but I see other teams that don't have amazing lines, and it doesn't look this egregious week in, week out. Now, granted, we've won up against a gauntlet, don't get me wrong, but this is really bad, and unless something changes up front, I mean, it looks like obviously Guyton's going to be back, Tyler's going to be back, and I expect Tyler. The center's going to be there, BB. Zach's going to be gone. There's a possibility they'll move on from Terrence, and even if you obviously keep what's the name at left tackle, it's not like you feel confident about what you saw this season. So and Guyton, yes. So they've got some question marks, and they have to figure out some answers and move forward.
There's going to be a ton of holes to fill, man. Like you said, there's at least 3 positions on that offensive line that you're talking about potentially having to fill. You still have to, I know that you signed Jonathan Mingo. Great, okay. You're going to have to get another dynamic receiver. You're going to have to get more running back help. You're probably going to have to add a second tight end, to this conversation. So we're talking, that's 6 guys right there, and we haven't even gotten to the defensive side and all the needs that you have over there. Yeah. And this is the part where you talk about this offseason, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but this offseason can't be about draft and develop. This offseason can't be about, we're hoping that our other guys take the next step. No, you got to go out there and get some proven guys. You got to go out there and get some top-of-the-line veteran free agents. And I'm not saying that you have to sign them for long-term deals, but those guys have to be a part of what you're doing in the future, because you're just not going to be able to line up and match up with the teams of the future, because teams are moving on. Washington is moving on. Philly is moving on.
And they're not signing bottom-of-the-barrel guys.
No, and so now these are the teams that you have to compete with within your conference, in your division, not let alone for the guys in your conference. So the Cowboys have a lot, and it's sad because you set yourself up to now have so many needs. Yeah. And then that also takes on a life of its own, because now next year you have so many needs, it's impossible to fill them all.
You damn sure can't fill them all in the draft.
No.
That's not possible.
And even if you did, it still doesn't mean that the guys that you drafted are, you said it earlier, you said the last 4 drafts, about 30 players were drafted in the last 4 drafts, and you can really only say 5, maybe 5 in a possible, 5 in a pump. We call it in the spade game.
Yeah, we call it 5 in a pass.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like that's so out of 30 guys, 5 in a pump.
That's not great, Bob.
That's not great if you're going to be
exactly. There you go. I say it all the time because I feel like the Cowboys get too much credit for being a good drafting team. I say, okay, but the reason why I'm not going to go that far is because they have to be better.
Yeah.
When you don't partake in free agency, when you don't go make the risky trades, whether it be trading out or trading within, right? Not talking about getting Brandon Cooks or Gilmore on one-year deal. Yeah, that's a 13-year pro or whatever. I'm talking about making a Jalen Ramsey type move.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? A Reggie White type move. They won't do that. And if you're not going to do that, you're going to rely on a bunch of 1, 2, and 3-year players to get you over the hump. It will fail every single time. Unless you hit on a bunch of Micah Parsons, it's going to fail because guess what's going to happen? You're going to get into the playoffs. Regular season, you might get an all-pro out of a Deron Bland or something. You might get a decent season out of a Jaron Curse. You might have a guy like back in the day was a George Selvey. But when the playoffs come, the playoffs are about better players. Yeah. Better players that have better coaches, that have better front offices, putting out better talent and everything else, and you constantly get proven to be a bottom tier in the playoffs. You may not be bottom tier in the regular season because at one point you had a conference or a division that was terrible. But when you get into the playoffs, you're not playing the Giants and the Washington football people 6 times during the season. You're playing the best of the best, and you constantly get shown you are the bottom of the barrel when it comes to playoff teams. And I don't see anything changing unless they actually make changes.
And when you talk about the players in it all, right? Like you look at guys, and the good teams have players in position that are able to do things that maximize their abilities. The Cowboys, they have to take players out of position, and they have to play them in areas where they necessarily
Hey, Bell, go play linebacker.
Go play linebacker. You know what I'm saying? Micah, you have to go be a pass rusher, and you can't be a linebacker. You're now about to have to turn Demarion Overshown into a pass rusher because you have no other player on that defense that gives you any type of juice. So instead of you being able to take guys, sit them in a situation, allow them to grow and develop in that situation, everybody now has to play all these other parts to get something going because you just don't have good enough players to do that, and that's what the good teams do. And the Cowboys have been coming up short in that department. And every time we try to look at this, and then of course inevitably it all goes back to the quarterback, and you try to look at it and you try to go, all right, how is this team going to move forward? How are they going to be successful? How are they going to get this thing to the next level? And like you said, you go through the regular season, you have some good ups, you have some good downs, but then when teams are able to really pinpoint what your weaknesses are, really pinpoint where your strengths, the matchups are at. These teams go into the playoffs and they start hunting out the matchups. Yeah. They go when they go, oh, no. We don't have to play with that over there. Mount's in the house over here. And we're just going to use it and abuse it over and over and over again. And we've seen that from the Cowboys defense and offense when they got into those money downs.
A couple of those young players that we wanted to see something from today, Ryan Flournoy and Jonathan Mingo. Mingo was targeted 4 times, 0 receptions. Yeah. This was the part you were talking about where who's delivering the ball to him, right? Ryan Flournoy, 3 targets, 2 receptions for 19 yards. CeeDee Lamb had 8 receptions. Turpin eventually finished with 3, right after the 64-yarder. But the wide receivers really were a non-factor in this game. Only Turpin and Lamb had more than 3 receptions. Schoonmaker and Brevin Spanford did show something, though. 6 receptions from Schoonmaker, 56 yards. When I say show something, I really did like Brevin Spanford in this game.
I think he showed something today.
I did like him in this game. But I have to give credit to Luke. Luke got 10 targets, 6 receptions, 56 as well. Is that enough for me to be like, oh, you know what, 2nd round pick, he's good to go? Not at all. I liked a little bit more what I saw out of Brevin. But that's kind of where you're at when you're with your backup, right? You go to your main guy, CeeDee Lamb, and then it's It's the guys that make him comfortable. Tight ends. The tight ends got 15 targets.
Yeah.
I don't know if let's see here, a 7. October. Okay. So that is 12, and then 15. 5 wide receivers.
Yes.
Got 15 targets. 2 tight ends got 15 targets.
But you know what? It's not uncommon when you're talking about the backup quarterback, right?
Yeah.
The saying is, what's the best
outside of CeeDee Lamb, by the way.
Outside of CeeDee Lamb, yes. But the saying is, what's the best friend to a backup quarterback? The tight end. Again, those are the easier throws, the check down throws, the throws that are right in front of them, the throws that are moving, the option routes, the Y option routes. You have your digs and your hitches right in front of the quarterback's eyes, bigger targets. And you're talking about, Brevis put out 4, not so much, but Lou Schoolmaker 6'6", 6'5", 6'6", whatever.
Yeah, big target.
Those are big targets for the quarterback to hit in those movements. So listen, you can CeeDee's gonna get his thing. I am disappointed in Jalen Tolbert. I wanted to push the narrative and the agenda of Jalen Tolbert being that second receiver, and not just because you're the most veteran guy there, but I wanted Jalen Tolbert to be a bona fide. I wanted him to move into that spot where it was like, I am the number 2 guy. I'm ready to step into that role. I'm ready to fulfill those shoes of opposite of CeeDee Lamb, and he's just been.
He's been there.
He's been a disappointment to me.
If I had to give a reason, I don't think Tolbert possesses any high level trait, so he has to be schemed for, in my opinion. He's not a blazer. He's not some 50-50 demon. He's not a route runny guy. He has to be game planned for and schemed for to get open. He's not a yak machine, so he doesn't possess. And that's the problem, I think, with the Cowboys, opposite of CeeDee Lamb in general, especially without Cooks here. You don't have a guy that's like, he does this really good, outside of Brandon Cooks, who has supposed to be the speed guy, right? But he couldn't do that because his body was breaking down on him, and you couldn't afford the time to get it to him. So, and then they went out and got another guy. In my opinion, that's the same way. Jonathan Mingo doesn't possess a single trait to me that's special. Well, Sky, he's a yak guy. Is he really anymore? This is the league. This isn't college football. Well, he's a 50-50 guy. Is he? Because he's 4 for 16 in his career on contested catches. Well, Sky, what? There's nothing I've seen in professional that he did. I guess you could say Flournoy's a blazer, but there's nothing there we've seen yet. So they're littered with a bunch of just kind of guys opposite of CD.
And even when you say a blazer, it's like
there's a lot of blazers.
Right. Everybody can run now.
Turpin can run.
Like, everybody can run, but my thing is now is, can your skill set be utilized in a game? Are you good enough to be able to utilize your skill set in the game? Because what you did at the combine, what you did at
South Alabama,
what you do in OTAs, what it looks like in minicamp, that sometimes to me don't matter at all. Can you possess that in a game?
Yeah.
Can that be an asset that is used consistently in a game?
And do you know how to use that speed?
Right.
So many players are fast, but they don't know how to use it.
Correct.
John Ross, the fastest dude in NFL combine history until Worthy got there, and then Worthy got there, and Worthy knows how to use that speed. But it's just the same story, different game, really.
Yeah.
For this defensively, same story, different game. They fight, and eventually the levees break on that side too. Again, DeMarvion Overshown shows up, right, making some splash plays, but he also shows up being out of control.
I gotta see him in the lunchroom again.
You gotta see him in the lunchroom. He's gonna say, OG, you told me.
I know, man.
You told me, OG.
I'm gonna see him and be like, come on, dog. I'm gonna be like, come on, bro. Come on. But like I said, this is his first year on the field.
Yeah.
Second year in the league, but of course, you know that he had his injury the first year. So I think this is all going to be learning for him. This is all going to be a part of his learning curve, right? And at times we get told a lot, like, oh, the more reps these people get, the more better they'll be. Like,
that has not been the case for the offensive line.
I'll fight anybody any day.
The more reps, the worse.
I'll fight anybody any day. Because if a person is getting more reps and he's having bad technique or she's having bad technique, it's only going to get worse and not going to get better.
But you want me to tell you you're doing a good job?
Good job. Keep up the good work. But for Damarian Overshown, he is one that is taking those reps and getting better, and he's going to learn. He is going to learn how to wrap up. He's going to learn how to slow down.
Because he showed it. Remember, there's a play where he did, and then like the very next play,
he's like, I'm back to my old ways. But you got to listen. He has to break the habit, and
he does.
And a lot of young players realize when you come to this league. Mozzie, for example. Let's use Mozzie, for example. When Mozzie was at Michigan, you just were bigger and stronger than the guys that you were going up against. And then you come to this league and you realize, oh, that just doesn't work.
That man got 3 kids and a mortgage.
That man got 3 kids, a mortgage, a car note, a baby
wife, mama, and a
girlfriend.
Piece. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he got stuff. He got stuff, and he
got stress strength.
He got he got stress strength. He like, man,
that's a different strength.
That's a different strength.
Boy, you push through.
You know what I mean? And so you realize, wait a second now. And so I think for Damarian, he's going to learn the same thing. Yes, I'm fast, but I'm not the most. I don't out athletic everyone out here. Guys have skills as well.
Barkley showed him that.
Right, and now I have to be able to harness what I have, and this is the part that separates the good from the great from the elite. It's those small details. It's the things of seeing when I'm hitting, tamp, boom, shoot my guns, run through my tackle. It's understanding that down and distance when I'm running a route, not to run it in front of the sticks.
Oh boy, a lot of that.
It's shooting my hands. It's all these little things that allow you to take your skill set to the next level. And young players learn them. The ones who really want to learn them, they get better. And those that don't usually just fizzle out because the game will pass you by.
100%, man. Let's get to our final thoughts. The River, brought to you by Texas Card House. You guys saw it, man. I was live at Texas Card House this past Friday. A fantastic place down there at Las Colinas in Irving. It's time for The River, ladies and gentlemen. Brought to you by Texas Card House, where the thrill of the game meets the excitement of the community. Discover our 6 premier locations across the Texas area. Each venue offers a unique poker experience, bringing the best of competitive and recreational play to every corner of the Lone Star State. TCH offers a unique blend of luxury, sophistication, and camaraderie, making them the premier destination of poker aficionados in the area. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, you'll find a welcoming community and top-notch facilities at TCH. If you don't know what the River is, it's the final street, the final card of 5. So we're going to give our final thoughts on the way out. Jesse, take it away.
You know, as this season, as we find ourselves in this season right now, and it doesn't look like there's any hope, there's any positives, you know, in this season. I can't take my mind off Zach Martin.
Yeah,
like that bothers me.
That's a hurt one. Yeah.
You know that bothers me, and this is the thing that I want people to understand. Like, there is a lot that these men give to this game. It hurts. It is difficult, and I get it. Yes, they're compensated for it handsomely.
Yeah.
But I want people to remember, and I have to remind myself this at times too. There's human under those helmets.
Yeah.
They're not these gladiators. They're not these robots. They're not these people who lack or people who lack feelings.
Yeah.
They hurt just like you and I hurt.
They hear it.
They hear it. And so I just want people to remember that I know things aren't going well. I know it. I get it. I'm with you. I know things aren't where you wanted it or expected it to be. But there's guys like Zach Martin who are human. All these guys are human. So just remember that as you go about your fandom.
Yeah.
You know, don't jump in people's DMs and say
trash.
Don't, you know.
We're talking about Zach Martin, ladies and gentlemen.
And listen, trust me, I'm talking to myself because sometimes I get a little bit out of hand. But don't jump in DMs and don't be on Twitter and Instagram and TikToks and all the crazy stuff. And if you see these guys out in the street saying crazy, there's a human under that helmet. And trust and believe you me, a lot of those guys don't want to go out here and lose a game. They want to go out here and win. And nobody sacrificed more than those guys. And so when
that's what Michael was trying to get at.
Yeah,
for the Cowboys.
And that's, you know, it hurts. It hurts when guys, this will probably be Zach Martin's last year, and it's going to go out in a year that is absolutely abysmal, absolutely just, you know, horrible year for him. But my last thing is just that to make sure that you understand that underneath those helmets, behind those pads, there's a few human beings in there.
I mean, that's very well put, and I probably should have ended with that because mine is going to go back to this game and moving forward.
I don't know what we move forward with, but
I think your plan, your diabolical mad scientist plan, I believe will be in full effect come next week with one Trey Lance.
Yep.
And let me tell you why. The turning point in this game that should absolutely say, okay, we got to move forward with Trey the rest of the season. The Cowboys kick a 64-yard bomb by Brandon Aubrey. 15-yard penalty gives him a first down. Me and you look at each other and say, I'm not going to take that from there, man. Give me the points. I decline that, sir. Give me the points. Because immediately, and I'm pretty sure everybody at home all thought, boy, Cooper Rush might get this one away. He proceeds on the very next play, or 2 plays, 3 plays later, to fumble a perfectly good snap and fortunately falls on him. He proceeds the very next play to throw the ball directly to the Texans player who could have took that to the crib if he didn't have Butterfingers.
Man, that's why he played DB.
Then the third play, they proceed to run a sprint right with Cooper Rush, and he throws it into the no man's land on 4th down, and you get 0 points. Jesse, the Cowboys' one lone touchdown today came from 67 yards out. They got into the 40, 30 red-green area a handful of times. The only tutty, 67 yards out. I don't think Cooper Rush did anything worthy for me to keep him in the ball game next week, because you got down to that red area where you could start using Trey Lance's legs to give something, man, some juice to some of these guys. Give a Zach Martin a reason to go out there and block his ass off. You know what I mean? So I think your plan is working to perfection right now. Trey Lance, I think, will be the guy next week, and if he's not,
my plan was that they would get in the game against Washington. Cooper Rush will get the first half. It won't go well for him. They'll sub in Trey Lance in the second half, and then they'll make the announcement later on that week.
Okay, so we got one more. You're right, Washington.
We got Washington Sunday, and then the Giants.
Oh damn! I don't know if your plan gonna last.
No, it's going. Trust me. Everything is going according to plan.
Okay.
They're gonna start because they're gonna say, well, Cooper Rush, man, he
300 some yards.
He showed some positive things today. He takes the next step. They're gonna bench him at halftime. They're gonna bench him at halftime.
Okay. You know what?
They're gonna go to Trey Lance, and then they're gonna say, all right, we're gonna give Trey Lance the rest of this thing go, and then
we're gonna go in the all right.
And then on November 29th, after Thanksgiving,
Trey Lance first career Cowboys start. Headlining
November 29th. The 28th is Thanksgiving.
Oh.
November 28th, he'll get the start.
Okay, yeah.
They'll play on Thanksgiving. What the outcome may be, I don't know.
It don't matter.
November 29th.
Then what happened then?
Michael McCarthy, Michael from Pittsburgh, loses his job.
Oh, that's another layer. You add layers on layers.
I'm just telling you. And that's how we go into December. We go into the last bit of December.
I mean, that would be so Cowboys. You fired a coach when it doesn't matter anymore.
Once you lose to Washington,
granted, he probably should.
You'll probably be mathematically eliminated.
Yeah.
And then once that happens, excuse me. Oh, okay.
All right.
Once you lose to Washington, you'll be mathematically eliminated, and then now I can go ahead and move on about my business.
Man, you real diabolical today. Wait around. That's okay. That's okay. That's a plan. That's a hell of a plan. My bad. I sped your plan up.
No, you good.
One whole week.
No, you good.
But I think it's because of my frustration with that turning point. It's just like, come on, man. Mike and Coop tried to give that thing back. They tried to give that thing, and they did. It worked.
They did.
It worked, man. All right, Cowboys Nation. This has been Cowboy Game Day live post-game show brought to you by Texas Car House. Live here from Kanvas Sports and Social. Y'all can probably hear it's turned up over there. It's turned up right here. We've got a nice party. They getting it popping in front of us. But we're going to head up out of here. Jesse, you got your 17 shows this week to try to get through the rest of the season. It's tough, man. They're making it rough on us, brother.
Yeah, man. You catch me 5 days a week over at DLLS Cowboys. 5 days a week over at DallasCowboys.com, hanging with the boys. Catch me twice a week on Unfiltered with Jesse Holley. Another 3 times a week on.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
When I get home, I'm spent. You catch me 3 times a week on Believe in the Cowboys, and then I'll be back here with my brother Scott for the pre and post game show, pre-halftime and post game show on A to Z Sports.
You can find me in the mornings. I'm just in the mornings for right now. Put a little pin in that, but I'm just here in the mornings, 8:30 ish. Tomorrow we'll be talking a little bit about this.